It's amazing how quickly things can change. I got a visit from another veteran. I was kind of telling him about but he was very interested in getting to know me, and pretty sure the man is older than me. His wife must be a little younger because she looks pretty well preserved. She's an attorney, and his hat indicated. I really try to focus on people's eyes and mouths when I'm talking to them, but he had an oak leaf, oak cluster, oak, on his veteran's cap. So, but his veteran status doesn't end there. He's a veteran of combat for the IDF, the Golan Heights, the units, the Golani unit. So I got some putz Gentile, probably a local who was drafted into service and then turns it into lifetime entitlement. Here comes a guy who's doing pretty good. His wife they both speak Hebrew and she speaks Arabic, and she's an attorney and a lovely woman, very attractive for that age. You're doing good, Shmuley, buddy. Actually, that's the first time, and I don't remember how long we're. He kind of made the motion. He began to he gives a, we Jews know how to communicate. He kind of moved his hands out just a little bit, and I went in for the kill. I gave Shmuley a big hug. L'chaim, bro. That's the difference between a psychopath and a guy that actually did apparently long-term service to this country. I didn't ask him about the cap he was wearing because, as he began talking about, service in the IDF, I didn't want to. Perhaps the cap belonged to his father. It was actually Navy SEALs with a cluster on it, high ranking. And it looked, that's what I told him. I've been dealing with a hobo with stolen valor stuff. Lovely man. He kind of saw I was resistant to interrogation, but he still persisted and smiled, and he laughed at my first joke. I keep telling you, lack of sense of humor is the first sign of mental illness. That first guy, when he came out and I told him how he assumed the Superman posture, he knows that's a bad sign. He's a wise man. He'd been around. It was lovely chatting with him and stuff like that. And I hope he keeps his promise to come back. I didn't we didn't exchange numbers and stuff like that, but his wife is apparently a football fan, so I'm in like Flint there. And so anyway, it was just good to run into, after such a horrible event, to run into somebody that may actually have seen that, but due to my tagging. If I tag it, it might suddenly come up on your feed. If you're doing military or vets or Pflugerville or stuff like that, it's going to come up on your feed because I'll be considered what is latest posted, most recently posted. So I'm not sure what led him here. Didn't ask, didn't care. It was so good to meet him, and he's a real Jew. He went and did his service to Israel. So that's the first time that I've hugged somebody. I've been hugged, and I've had to tell them, stop, you're hurting, breaking my neck, like I'm in a wheelchair. I've been hugged, but it's the first time that I've voluntarily hugged anybody. He just kind of gave me the sign to come in my Hebrews. One of my Hebrews was like a Glock with whacked 14 Hamas in defense of his wife and children or whatever. whacked 14 Hamas. It's up on my community post with just a Glock, and they had RPGs, AK-47s, you name it, and he capped 14 of them. I'm going to stop myself from saying what I was going to say. I let him know that I'm kind of, because I wanted to kind of say it my way, which is Shalom Aleichem, just so often, because the way he said it was so close to the Arabic way. She speaks Arabic and English perfectly. They both do. And he's actually from Brooklyn. So a guy thinking he's entitled for life to be, go and do whatever he wants, when he was probably drafted in for, what was a 2-year stint, boot camp, then off to Nam. Probably not even just a basic grunt infantryman, something like that. This gentleman was a veteran of not only Vietnam, but then also of Israeli conflicts. So it's good to meet one of my own peeps, one of my Hebrews. Shmuel, Shlomo, Shmuley, Samuel, actually is so I was calling him Sammy. Shlomo is Solomon. Please, I already have enough languages in this head. I just couldn't tackle Hebrew because I'd already had my experience with Russian, and that the lack of articles and so on. And Neo-Hebrew has really substantial differences than Paleo-Hebrew. And it was just another subject that I didn't want to tackle. Since almost all Hebrews speak English now, please remember, a lot of what y'all hear isn't Hebrew, it's Yiddish. Kind of the last remnants of Hebrew really kind of died under the weight of the Germanic, because we Hebrews began going to, because that's where you could get, that's the only place, Germany was the only place in the world where you could get really precision, good quality metal alloys. I've said this, given this speech before. So we've been in Germany for 500 years. The composer, Mendelssohn, I think he had to kind of come in through the foreigner gate to get into the we talked a little bit. He lost family in the camps. I lost an entire line of mine, and some of the Cohens and Steins, and I'm sure some of them were the Polish variant, Steinecke and stuff. It's after dealing with that jerk, that violent jerk. So I could tell this guy was, especially as soon as he left, he started he is a person that is light of heart, like me. People keep saying, you don't sound old. That's because I don't feel old. One of my things is to not look in the mirror. That's why I'm sometimes so hesitant and halting, and I'm looking in a mirror. My main thing is learn to communicate in the modern vernacular and maintain my own, be able to understand what people are saying. But I don't need a mirror, the symbolic Zen mirror, to do my introspection. I do it all the time. I need to stop right here. I'll go too long. Samuel, Shmuley. You remember Larry the Cable Guy? Shmuley's dressing up in costumes and stuff. Then Shmuel, the tailor, dresses him up full, complete with payas and a beard and the whole thing. And it was hilarious. It's really nice to meet a kindred spirit and stuff. We Jews are not supposed to get tattooed, but he had the Golani units tattooed on his left arm. And I don't read or write Hebrew diddly. I don't. I could just barely tell that the picture in the last video, that the picture was facing the right way towards the alphabet words. That's all I can tell you. I can tell you whether it's, right side up, upside down, or turning the wrong way. So, Samuel from Brooklyn and from Israel, it was my pleasure to meet you. Our very best to you, and may God bless you and yours. And please, open invitation, you're permitted to. Because actually, at one point, I asked him to keep his distance because I didn't know if I might be under another attack. But I can tell that this man has worked hard all his life. He might only be a little older than me, but you can tell he's put in his time compared to the other guy that was doing the Superman posture. I told him about that. He goes like, really? Yeah, he understood. Saying that's a bad signal to give to somebody. Bad kinetics. Elite Jews are usually very perceptive, smart, witty people. And I just met one. That's the first person that I've actually hugged and meant it. I've let people hug me. That's the first person all he had to do was give me that little sign down in the periphery of my vision that me being taller, I got to come up on top, and he has to come in up underneath so it doesn't hurt his shoulders any more than I hurt mine. Gosh, come to think of it, I had just enough shoulder left to get around him. So it was wonderful. He told me he loved me, and I told him I loved him back. He's my people. He's one of my Hebrews. A good man is woman I judge to be too. It doesn't take me long to assess people. He was, even though I was being kind of resistant to him at first and telling him that I don't like being interrogated, he was trying to ask if there's some way he could help me. So we'll see. But it was just such a pleasure to meet. And I reminded him, I told him that first Texans, we started out as Yankees, and a lot of us were stealth or crypto Jews hiding behind Christian front men. Jewish women. That's how you. Anyway, I want to leave it right there. Shmuley, Sammy, it was my pleasure. It really was. Truly, genuinely, my pleasure.